All right, we are ready to go. We just getting on here and trying to find my stuff. Okay, hold on. My. Anyway, so good to have you guys here. We just trying to get my music together here. I do apologize. Anyway, I think I have it. No, where is it? Is this it? Trying to figure it out. I think I got it. Let's start off with this one here. Lessons of Love. This is our dedication today to all the mothers that are doing it right today.
Mama, you taught me how to love and to care. You showed me the way.
All right, today we're going to have some good old time. I'm going to have some time for y'all. I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear from you guys today to call in. I'll have the phone number up on the screen in a little bit. Call in and to share some stories about mama. Some good stories. All right, I want to hear some good stories about mama. If you're a mother, I want to hear from you. If you got some good stories, some advice that you would pass down to the younger ones. So this is when we're going to turn the mic this away or whatever. And we want to hear from the mamas in the house, okay? The real mothers out here that are doing it well. I ain't talking about you just a church mother and all that because some title. No, I'm talking about you living it. All right, want to hear from you. We're going to give people about a little over a minute, and then we're going to start, okay? Meantime, let's sit back and relax, okay? All right, under a minute. Under a minute. Under a minute, and we're going to get started here. Remember, I said today we're going to be here. We want to hear from the mothers today, or those that have had one and you just want to tell other people about it. Share a story or two. We want to hear from you, okay? All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for joining us for this special broadcast today here on our Samba Journeys YouTube page. I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. And as this weekend is coming to a close, I know, but still, I hope you had a wonderful week. You go to don't even try to go to the restaurants today. If you don't have a reservation, forget about it. Because everybody literally and their mother are out there today in these streets, wanting to, pay homage to their mother, and say, okay, Mom, we're going to give you one day where you don't have to cook. we're going to take you to a restaurant. And so that's today. And here's some images that I was kind of playing around with today. And I'll just share some of them as y'all let me know what you think and all of that. Give me just a moment here, okay? One moment. All right, sorry about that. Yeah, so today is a special day. It's always a special day when we're honoring our mothers and all of that. And I couldn't help but to reflect upon it. As I'm talking, I'm going to be putting some of these other images that I was playing around with. I couldn't not help but to think about, this the name of this channel, as you know, is Samba Journeys, and it just basically is just a weird name I basically came up with. It's basically reflecting that, as far as my wife and I, that, and many others too, but really starting from us, we're on a journey. And man, we certainly have been through a whole lot and have seen a whole lot. And one thing is for certain, I was reflecting on when I was in the Hebrew space. I can recall days like Mother's Day and Father's Day. These are evil days, and and you can't celebrate them, or you shouldn't acknowledge them, because these are the holidays that, if you do the history behind it, it talks about how they are, whatever they, that there was a, if you go back into the ancient Greek or whatever, it was a day that they set aside to honor whatever their mother goddesses and stuff like that. And so people in the religious space, particularly like in the Hebrew world, they oftentimes will take that and run with it and say, okay, we're not to acknowledge it at all, because if you dare acknowledge it, then, that means that you are in fact honoring these goddesses and stuff like that. And so, that was something for me. I just never embrace that, but if for other people, I just always say to each his own, whatever you want to. But if you're going to base it off of that, if you're going to make a decision off of that, then you're going to have to be consistent and start saying that you're not going to, never say the word Monday again, or Tuesday or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, because all of these days are named after different deities. You know what I'm saying? How far do we want to take this? And so even today, I was, just kind of perusing online and just seeing how, instead of an acknowledgement, at least, of our great mothers out there who are holding it down, who are good examples, unfortunately, what I see is just a lot of just, always focusing on the negative. It's just very depressing, and, and that's what I see. And there's a lot of bad things, as happening in the world today. But I think it's always important, regardless if you do it today or whatever day, it doesn't matter. What does matter is that we are paying homage to our mothers, and also fathers too. We got to do that too, and it's very important for us to do that, just period, regardless of what your personal belief system and what your religious beliefs are or whatever. At the end of the day, it is imperative for us to set aside, days where we are, paying homage to these beautiful people. For, I would say for a lot of people, some people, it may not have been beautiful, and we'll touch on that in a little bit. But these people who are our greatest inspirations in our lives. And so today I want to do that. And so, so what we're going to do is I'll share a story or two as they come to mind. And we're going to also turn on the phones, and I want to hear your stories as well. I would love to hear, and I think a lot of other people would love to hear your stories as well. What you see on the screen, these are just some of the images that, I would just kind of, Nicole came in today and she was like, I need you to do an image of, a Mother's Day, because, people in the family, they say Happy Mother's Day or whatever. And so I had to stop what I was doing, and I said, let me come up with some stuff. And so I was like, man, these things look pretty good. So you might see some of these pop up at some point, I don't know, in some of the things we do or whatever, because I try to, I put things to the side and I'm like, okay, that's future, but man, check these out. So yeah, so these are some of the things that we have been teaching in we taught in our recent AI artwork class, of Samba University. And just as you can see, I mean, you could do this stuff. And shoot, I know I did one for my mother and made it to a Mother's Day card. Already dropped it in the mail. It's gonna be late though, unfortunately. But yeah, So these are the things you could do now. And it just me, you could do it too. And with the right stuff and knowing what to put in and all that. And so anyway, so yeah, I just wanted to share this. I'll leave this up here for a little while longer. I know it looks, I got all this stuff on the screen. So today, what we're gonna do is that, like I just mentioned, share some stories on that. I'm going to mention, and it's not in this order. It's not going to be in this order. I'm just kind of throwing it out there, and then we'll just touch and go as we go. Today is relaxing, okay? I'm going to talk about the now going Who in the L series. And that now, if you go back to that post, for those of you who saw that post that I posted, was it yesterday? I think I posted it yesterday. I actually updated that post today with a sample lesson, and I'll talk about that in a moment. So if you go back to that post, at the very top, you'll see a link. I made a sample lesson there. You could check that out there, but I'm going to touch on that in a moment, okay? I'm also, speaking of Hebrews, man, I tell you, y'all saw that image I posted yesterday. It just, man, the fighting just never ends, man. It never ends. The latest we got now is IUIC versus Ron, or other way around. And I'm like, it literally never ends. It never ends. So we'll just touch on that lightly, but it's just, we'll talk on that. And then there's like some little clips here and there. We'll touch on those things too. But we're not gonna go heavy today. But I did want to take some time today and to pay some homage to our mothers out there, because on this platform we talk oftentimes about when we talking about the 92%, right? And I always make it very clear that when we talk about that 92%, folks, that is not applicable to all black women. I say that literally all the time. And then there's one video I do and I don't mention that. Oh my goodness. It's like people just come out. See, what you got to do is make sure you make it clear that not all black people are like this. I'm like, I literally say this all the time, right? So yeah, so you got those folks, right? We ain't talking about them folks, them women. We're talking about there are many great examples of beautiful mothers out there who, they're holding it down. They're doing everything that they're, for the most part, need to do as a good mother, as one that really helps, she's taking care of herself so that she can also take care of those children and really be everything that a good mother is supposed to be. And we need to honor that, and so we're gonna deal with that today. Okay. So again, if you have any stories, funny stories, serious stories, or whatever, I'm gonna put this number on the screen in a little bit once I get rid of these images here, and I'm gonna have y'all call in and share them. Don't be scared, y'all. Don't be scared. Nobody tracking your number, okay? Because every time I do this, it gets real quiet. And but nobody's tracking your number. I'm not like, ooh, I got that number down. I'm gonna start blowing them up and asking them for money. I don't even do that. I forget. I listen. There are numbers I'm supposed to know. I don't even know them. I'm talking about in my own household. I just know, okay, scroll, name, and click, and that's it. But if someone was to ask me, what's their phone number? Quick. They're gonna be in the world of hurt, because I'm not gonna know it. But anyway, let's see, where do I begin today? Let me get rid of these images here, and let's do that real quick here. And then what I'll do is let me go very quickly. We had some issues with our mail email system. So I just have to tell you about, I got to update the banner too. Okay. I just have to tell you, and again, I'm just going to touch on this very quickly, y'all. We do have a sale that's going on right now, and give me a moment here and I will just simply tell you about it. Okay. Give me a moment. Oh boy, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where did she send it? Oh, here it is. Here it is. Here it is. All right. So let me go here. Okay, here we go. So let me just tell you about this sale here. All right. So this one is going to be, the code for this one is mothers and others, like the and sign, so the and sign. So it's mothers and others. Mothers and others. So it's going to be 15% off of everything in the store. 15% off. There's no minimum purchase requirement. And so there's no limits or anything like that. You can combine it. No, you can't combine it with other discounts. And it's active today. And I know she says it's going to be I think she said just for today, but we're probably going to extend it. Okay, maybe a day or so, because like I said, some weird issue we're having with email. But yeah, so again, the code is going to be, and I'm gonna put this on the screen here. Okay. The code is going to be mothers and others, and it's 15% off the entire store. Let me see if I can put this here, and hopefully y'all be able to see it. Okay. And then we'll start cooking. There you go. I know that looks janky, but there you go. That's the code, okay? Mothers and others, 15% off, 15% off the entire store. Check it out. We got a lot of stuff on there. I'm going to share with y'all too. Nicole, if you haven't seen it, she posted a video over on our Samba Tree YouTube page. I'm going to start off with that. We're not going to play the whole video. We'll just play part of it. Again, Samba Tree is, your one-stop shop for pretty much all your health and wellness needs. And we're constantly adding stuff. Everything in the store we actually have tried and used in our house. Before I came live here, I actually just had some mango juice. And man, that thing is good. Every time I drink that, it's good. It's good stuff. And, all kinds of powders. All the things that are good for you, all the things that's going to keep you and mama ticking. All right. We got it here over on sambatree.com. And so, like I said, again, on the screen, you got the code. So make sure you write it down. Mothers and others, save 15% off on the entire store today. All right. So head on over and make sure you use that. Let's see. So what I'm going to do now, I'm not going to play the entire video because I want you to go over there and watch it yourself. But Nicole did a wonderful video today, and she just posted it over on our Samba Tree YouTube video. And it ties in beautifully to the overall theme of what we're going to be kind of touching on today. And that is just mothers and that kind of thing. So let me get that up here. Samba Tree. Yeah, there you go. Samba Tree, and let's get this video up on the screen. Okay, there we go. Like I said, again, we'll just play a little bit of it. Let's take a listen and let's hear what Mama Nicole has to say.
Time ago, that running water will always have a cup underneath it, always. And this can be a great thing, when in balance. People can drink from your life. Your advice is refreshing. Your help is refreshing. Your support is refreshing to them. And you're like running water that they can drink from. That's great. But when it's out of balance, it is not pretty. when you do for everybody, when you do everything for everybody, when you are everything for everybody, or you try to be, because that's impossible to do, but you are the emotional buffer, the emotional support for everyone. You pick up where they left off. You close the gaps where they are weak. You do all of this for everybody. There will always be a cup ready and willing to drink, right? From the waters that are coming from you. Whether it's in your job life, your career, where the people on your team are constantly doing sloppy work and there's really no motivation for them to improve, no matter how many times you've asked them to check their work before they submit the department reports, they know you're going to check them. And not only are you going to check them, you're going to check them and correct them while they clock out at 5 with their janky work. You're there till 8, or you're working till 8. Your laptop is still open, fixing everybody's mistakes. Because why? The water is still running. You need to turn the faucet off. Boop, turn the faucet off. It's got to go off. You need to turn the faucet off. In your family life, anything that needs to be done, you're doing it. Whether it needs to be fixed, whether it needs to be cleaned, whether it needs to be, whatever it needs to be replenished, you're doing it, and you're doing all of it. And you may not even necessarily live with selfish people. They just may not be aware that action needs to be taken. Why? Because it just magically gets fixed. It just magically gets replenished. The supplies in the house get replenished. The yard gets cut and the bushes get trimmed and the leaky faucet gets fixed and all these things just get fixed or get replenished or get purchased. And it never even dawns on them that some action is required or would be nice from them, because you've always done it. You've always filled in those gaps. Again, you need to turn the faucet off. That's the only way that people around you are going to learn to do for themselves, to learn that you're not going to always do everything, be everything, supply everything for them. It's the only way. You got to turn it off. And when you turn your faucet off, you are not responsible for people's transition period. They will find out when they go and they stick that cup under the faucet and no water is coming out. They will learn that, I guess I need to do it myself. Oh, I guess I need to find the answer myself. Oh, I guess I need to work out this emotional whatever myself. Oh, I guess I got to go talk to a counselor. Whatever the situation is, they will soon realize that there is action required on their part because the water is no longer coming out. And
I'm going to stop it right there. If you want to watch the rest of it, make sure you head on over to sabatree.com. And again, sabatree.com. She did a wonderful job in breaking this down here. And it's, I can't tell you the amount of stories out there. And I'm sure for many of you, you can kind of relate to this, what she's talking about. And I'm saying especially our mothers out there, where you just give and 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 give. But, and people, it's to the point where just people, they just take advantage of it because they know you're just going to be right there. You're going to be the giving tree. And what happens is, you wear these women out to the point where, they're just like, man, I'm just done. And I know a lot of times people like to focus on just how angry a lot of these black women are angry. They're just angry, angry, angry. And, when we do address that on this platform, there are some factors that do need to be addressed. Well, all of it does. But I mean, there are factors that are, I would say it's just, self-created, or, there's a deficiency there or whatever, you can explore all of that. And it's something that oftentimes, and many times people do that themselves. Let me give you an example. You have individuals out here, and I sit back and watch them, and they have openly shared how in their childhood, how they were scarred. And I'm talking women now. They would talk about maybe they were scarred in their childhood, maybe they were scarred in a marriage or whatever. And then I sit back and I see that they have YouTube pages or TikTok pages or whatever. And everything that they're saying, their entire worldview is coming out of that scarred place. You understand what I'm saying? So they can't talk about anything unless it's seasoned with that pain or seasoned with that whatever it is that happened, and they've never been healed of that. And you see this a lot, and we've talked about this particularly in religious spaces where you have a lot of these, you have women who are scarred, and haven't been healed. And so what they do is they believe that by holding up the Bible and every other word that they say out of the Bible, it's just, I'm a hide behind his word, and you think that this is covering up those scars. No, you think that's happening. But when you look closely and you go and you start smelling a little bit, what you smell? You smell all that pus that's coming out of those open wounds. The scars are still there. So you can sit up here and quote all kinds of scriptures and talk about all this stuff that, what God is and this, that, or whatever, but the scars remain in many of these cases. And it comes through so often. And that's why you got these preachers out here. They see that stuff and they take advantage of you. If it wasn't for many black women, we wouldn't have, a lot of these churches would be completely dismantled, because it's the money oftentimes coming from black women that are holding these churches up. Have you ever thought of that? Because if you hardly have black men in there these days, who's the ones that's paying all the bills? It's the women. They're paying the bills. And then you got this greasy behind preacher up there. He's sitting back and he knows the right things to say. He's not interested in bringing healing. He's just there to kind of manipulate your feelings, never drive you to a place where you can truly get healed. Really encourage, hey, listen, you may need to get some counseling because you need to come out of that place, right? They rarely do that. Instead, what they'll do, come back next week, because what we're going to do is we're going to talk about trouble don't last always. And then they're going to have you singing. They're going to say, sometimes you just need to cry about it. Sometimes you just need to let it out. Sometimes you just going to have to just break down and just let it all out. And you up there just emoting and all that, all on the altar. Oh, Lord Jesus, or whatever. After you've done all of that, and while you crying, that's when they had the bucket. All right, come on, give. The Bible says, give and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together and running over. And he's taking full advantage of you, shaking all these trees to get the little fruit that you have, and then push you out and say, I'll see you next week. This happens all the time. All the time. This is why I hate these churches. I hate them. Yes, I said it. I did. I hate the system. I absolutely hate them, because this is what they have done for years and years and years. They have taken full advantage of our women, particularly in this area like this. We oftentimes talk about how they push out the men, but I don't think we talk enough about how they manipulate our women. Oh, a lot of these churches, I'm sure they had a good old Mother's Day celebration, and they said, okay, for all the mothers, we're going to give you a little flower. And the mothers coming in and they got their big old nice hat on and got their white on. If they're part of a sorority, I'm sure they bringing their stuff in and they looking around and, check me out and all that other stuff. Yeah, they doing that, but guess who getting money at the end of the day? The church is. And they're going to keep right on pushing that whole agenda to get you all worked up, pat you on the back or whatever, and then push you right on out. I'm trying to tell you, and this is a system that has to stop. If we want to start seeing some true healing, and particularly amongst our sisters, particularly amongst our mothers, I would say one of the things that need to go in the so-called black community is the black church. It must be wiped out. It must be pushed into non-existence. I'm being honest. I'm sorry. I have to tell the truth. I have to tell the truth. I do. Because what they have done, how they have corrupted, how they have manipulated our women, particularly our mothers. It is demonic what they have done. These are one of the main contributors, but there's other factors as well, and we talk about that often. The system also encourages, how you have, they encourage, that now they're on this transgender thing. Now they're up here encouraging men to act like a mother. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. There is no rusty, dusty, ashy man, big knuckled, thick neck man that can never take the place of a mother. There's no way in heaven above. If you believe in purgatory, I'll take that too. In earth below, in hell, or any other place that you're going to find a man that can be a mother. It can't be. It can't be. You're not wired to do that. You can't do that. And churches have been leading the way. I'm saying particularly black churches have been leading the way to endorse that kind of behavior. They cannot take the place of a mother. Never. But yet here we are today. This is what we see. So this is what they're encouraging. And they're manipulating centers. I don't know how I got off on this, but here we are. But they're manipulating centers because what they'll do is say, well, that man, because a lot of times, listen, I spent a lot of time in the church. They'll say, well, because you hear a lot of, women of a certain age, they'll say, y'all, what's the prayer request? And, they go around the room and what's the number one prayer request from a lot of these women? Y'all pray for my husband. Pray for my husband. I remember as a child, I used to hear that a lot. And so what it put in my mind is, well, dang, the husband must be a sinner of sinners. To where they will try to portray this until I got older and I realized, and I said, I don't think the man is that bad. He don't seem like he's bad. No, he's just frustrated because you got this manipulating pastor that's up there whose word has more weight with the wife than the husband's word has weight with his own wife. Do you understand what I'm saying? And then they see the manipulation, but a lot of these men, they're being pushed out. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it causes this separation. So that's why a lot of times in these homes, who's the quote unquote spiritual head in the household? It's the women. It's the mothers. Meanwhile, the man is like, well, if this is how it's supposed to be, I don't have nothing to do with it. So they got to go. That system has to be brought down. It has to go. I'm sorry, Dwayne, but you got some good churches out there. Okay, whatever. But the system needs to go. The system needs to go for real, because they have done way more damage when it comes to how they have manipulated our mothers, our women out there, and it needs to stop. Hey, this is your Mother's Day message here, I guess, right? A Mother's Day message where I'm telling you the church needs to be wiped out. I'm going to tell it. I'm sorry. That's your Mother's Day message, okay? I'm going to have to tell you about it. But anyway, one thing I can tell you, and I'm going to share a story or two, and then let me mention this something else, and then I'm going to open the phone lines because I do really want to hear from y'all, especially y'all who listen. Maybe you like, okay, do I call or whatever? I don't know. Yes, today is your day to call. Today is your day to do it. Okay. All right. For example, let me give you an example of, a story regarding my mom. And I remember, speaking of church, and the reason why I'm giving these church examples is because there are many people that follow this platform who can relate. So that's why I do this. So if you're one of those few that says, well, I don't know nothing about the church. Okay, well, just hang in there. Okay. I'm sure you'll find something in this story. Okay. And so anyway, I can recall one of the most powerful times that I witnessed in my mother's life was when my dad, the church that we attended at that time, I told you, a good portion of my childhood, I actually grew up in a mostly white church. It was an Assembly of God church in New Jersey. And, it was a church at that time that was made up of a lot of people who came out of the hippie movement. Yeah, talk about a background there. Yeah. They came out. This was like people that came out of the hippie movement in the 70s and all of that. And so, and now they had, become adults, responsible adults or whatever, but they still had that little edge about them. Right. And so anyway, so they were all open to different races of people coming in and all that stuff. But you always saw that little edge, that little, like, we a little bit better than you darkies, basically. They were known to have a significant bus ministry where they had, like, if I had to guess, I'm just guessing, they used to have at least 50 school buses that would go out every Sunday and pick up kids from all over in central, southern New Jersey area. And a lot of those children were actually black children. And so they saw that, I guess, as their mission field. Like they were going in the deep, darkest parts of Africa. That was their mission field. But anyway, long story short. And so fast forward, and, I'm skipping over my dad getting saved and all that stuff, right? Fast forwarding through all of that. And, my parents, they worked in the teen ministry. They worked in that. And I used to see times when they would, this church, they will always keep a extra set of eyes on my dad, particularly my dad. Not so much my mom, but really my dad. I saw the pressure that they were putting on him because they was always afraid that he was going to lead a great army or something or whatever. I'm serious. It's like, I would call it the Planet of the Apes syndrome, where they just like, you better keep your eyes on Caesar. Keep your eyes, because he know too much. It was that kind of thing, seriously. And they, so I saw that. And then I also saw when my dad moved, so they basically pushed him out of that whole ministry. And then fast forward, I remember when and I've shared this story before, where he really had a burden for bringing other churches together in the community, regardless of, because his thing was, at that time, it was this big racial reconciliation thing. It wasn't so much, he wasn't really, I don't recall him doing the whole washing of the feet thing. It wasn't anything like that. He just wanted to see, he said, hey, listen, he basically had a map. Here are all these trouble areas in our community, and you got all these churches all over the place. How about these churches come together so that we can address these issues that are in the community? You talking about you loving Jesus and feed the 5,000 and all that stuff, but you got problems right here. First, we got to demonstrate unity, right? It's got to be a demonstration of that. How are we going to demonstrate unity? And you got a church over there, you got a church over there, you got a church from there, you got a church, there needs to be something. And so my dad would pour a lot into that. That was another one of his projects. And the church was literally sending spies, people looking in and taking notes and all that stuff and calling stuff in and yeah, he's doing this or that or whatever. So there was more pressure. And again, these are white people doing this. And there was some coons up in there too doing this stuff. And then I remember it was the same thing. He used to get men together, men in the community, men at his job, so forth and so on. They would come together. He would, take them on fishing trips. They would go on breakfasts. They would do all kinds of stuff. This was stuff he was doing on his own, and he was reaching in his own pockets and funding a lot of this stuff. And so I remember, never forget, I always share this story because it really stands out to me the most. I can remember as a child being in the next room, in my bedroom, and hearing this grown, strong man crying, breaking down and crying because he just didn't understand why he was just getting all of this, catching all this up from the very people that, supposed to This is all Christian love, right? They said some of the worst hate is Christian love, right? And I remember hearing that, and my mom was right there with him. And so I was able, and there was other times I saw where it was just really heavy on him, just the constant whatever. And through all of that, I was able to sit back and see how my mother was there to help kind of comfort, bring some balance and support and all of that, even when he didn't have any other brothers to kind of ride with him to get some things done. He had my mother. And what she was doing during that time was actually setting the tone, setting the example of what I was looking for. And at the same time, my father would do anything. He would move all of heaven and earth, whatever he had to do to make sure that my mother had everything she needed, everything. It wasn't just a one-way street. It was the same street. And it was called unity. It was marriage. It was love. It was all of those things. And what she demonstrated it was a balance where, my dad, he was very, grew up in the South, that kind of thing. And just, he wasn't one that's, I'm probably way more expressive than my dad. But my dad, he could be extremely funny, but he would be a lot of times, my dad, a lot of times he reminded me of James Evans. It was like that. So when I would see Good Times and I would look at James Evans, I would see my dad. I mean, literally it was like kind of like that. But when it came to protecting his family and all of that stuff, I mean, he was all about that. He didn't play that. And taking care of, my mom and all of that, he was right there as well. So it was a lot of back and forth there. I watched how, my mother, that was one way that she really demonstrated that just empathy. You know what I mean? There's empathy. There's empathy that a man can give, but it's nothing like the empathy that can come from a mother. Nothing like it. Absolutely nothing like it. That's why I think it's stinking disgusting when you see men cross that line and they try, oh, come here, boo. No, don't put them rusty hands on me. Okay, no, that's okay. I mean, I'm not saying as men we can support one another. That's one way you do it. But what they're pushing today is something different. We ain't talking about that. Okay, and so I remember how, and so my mother, one of the things she really loved to do, and to a measure, I think she kind of slowed down. She said she always loved taking care of plants. Always. She would get a slice of a plant and make a whole forest out of it. It was just like, she's like, you remember this plant this little leaf I got from, whatever store, whatever it was, they were giving them away. And I'm like, no, I don't remember. And she was like, yeah, I took this plant. Next thing you know, she done made a whole big old house plant out of it. Just constant care, showing a constant empathy for plants and things like that. And I'm going to tell you, as a child, I would be rolling my eyes being like, okay, plants all over the place, plants and all of that. But there was something in me. That's why my encouragement to you, particularly as mothers, there are going to be things that you're going to do that you think for your sons, especially, or your children or your daughters, you may think they're not paying attention, but trust me, we are. But those lessons on just really, just think the lessons that she taught in doing that, even though it may seem like I wasn't paying attention to it, years later, we're helping to sponsor classes on how to, foraging. Years later, Samba Tree comes out of that, where we're getting emails from people and messages from people who are talking about because they took this and because they took that, they're noticing significant differences in their health and their wellness. It all started from that. So I know that, a lot of times and this goes to parents, period, both mothers and fathers, but today we're talking specifically to mothers. It may only seem like as children, we're not paying attention, but trust me, we are. And so those efforts, a lot of times you may not think these children ain't paying attention. They are. Sometimes it takes a lot longer for the mail to get to where it needs to go. You understand what I'm saying? Sometimes it may take years for them to finally get the message on what you were trying to communicate. But trust me, the mail is on its way. They just got a slow carrier. Okay. He got lost. Okay. The carrier, he got lost, but he all right. He trying to make it there. Okay. So I just want y'all to know that we really appreciate that. And I can go on and on about different stories about things I would used to notice and, valuable lessons of just how to show empathy, and the wife that I have today. It's no different. I mean, it's just a different expression of what a mother should be or wife should be. It's just a different expression of it. I see her, how she, with our children. I mean, she will find something to, when it's their birthday or whatever, she'll piece something together and be like, okay, I'm gonna do this. It'd be stuff I ain't even know. I'm like, oh, okay. Not that I forgot the birthday, but I'm saying like, I didn't know she was gonna get this. I didn't know, how did you do that? All of that. And always thinking, for their best, always there for them. I've seen her have a ton of work, and will put it to the side to hear them out on a certain issue and walk them through the whole process, things like that. And she had a good example too. Her mother, again, I mean, let's be clear. I mean, we all have our shortcomings here and there, and we can nitpick on that things, but there are many women out here that are doing it the right way. They are. They may not be doing it, they may be imperfect in some way, as we all are. But there are many people. That's why, like I said, we can, I share a lot of those unfortunate videos, and we're going to keep on showing those videos, but we also got to make sure we're taking the time to talk about these things too, the positives that are out there. There are many women out there, they may not be on YouTube. For every video that you see where they're talking about how black women are this and black women ain't that or whatever, I can pretty much guarantee you there are many other black women out there or just women in period, they don't fit that profile at all. They don't. And there are a lot of women out there who are mothers, and they may even be single mothers that are doing the best they can, and they are getting some pretty good results as a result of their own efforts. And for that, we do applaud you and we thank you, for doing that and setting those examples. And unfortunately, having to fill in the space that was probably left vacant for one reason or another, but we really appreciate that, because your contributions are what help tilt the scales when it comes to society and developing people of strong character. And we really, 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 I appreciate, we all appreciate it. Some people don't appreciate it enough, but we do appreciate it. And so, so I just want to take the time and really, really acknowledge that. And I'll be talking more about that. Let me dip in, and I just want to talk a little bit about this Who in the L series just very quickly. I promise you, very quickly. After I mention that, then what I'm going to do is we're going to put the phone line on, and I want to hear from some of y'all to call in and share some stories about your mother. It could be some funny stories, maybe something you learned, or maybe if you're a mother yourself, if there's some pearls of wisdom or whatever that you would like to share, maybe your mother isn't here anymore, share with us those things, share with us. Maybe your mother wasn't perfect, and maybe you want to share some of the things you learned from that situation as well. I mean, I'm not saying you got to go on all your business, but, let's take this time today and to honor, our wonderful mothers out there who are putting it down, who are doing it the right way. Okay. So let me very quickly, jump over here to our community page very quickly here. And then And then, like I said, again, I'm going to put the phone lines on here in a moment. Okay, here we go. Oh, I see Nicole, she posted it on our community page right here. So this is the code information on the sale that I just talked about. Yeah, that's fine. Identity crisis. Had a pretty interesting conversation with somebody. I'm not going to even go into it, but you can see it in the comment section in there. But anyway, some people I'm not going to. Anyway, so I want to talk about this, the Who in the L series. For those of you who don't know, maybe you're newer to this channel. Some years ago, I actually did a series, as we were coming out of the Hebrew world and, Christianity itself. There were just too many things I just saw going on repeat over and over again, and too many similarities to things. And I was just like, why I keep seeing this stuff happen over and over again? And there were a lot of other questions that I had regarding the Bible and the claims that the Bible was making and all of that. And so these were just legitimate questions that I had. It wasn't that I hated the Bible and all of that. It wasn't anything like that. I just wanted to know, I said, you know what? It's time to do a audit, if you will, of the Bible. It's time. I want to do my own audit of the Bible. And, and once you start talking like that, people don't like that, because it's going to mess up their worldview. It's going to mess up what they want to believe. A lot of us have been trained to, when you talk about specifically black folks, we were brought to this country to do one thing, to obey. That's what we were brought over here. We were brought over here to obey. We weren't brought over here to use our brains to kind of be think tankers and, to develop ideas and all that stuff. We weren't brought over here for this. We were brought over here to basically to obey, to be told something and to obey it, to give a command, be given a command and to obey it, period. So when it came to religion, it was no different. So they gave us the Bible, contrary to what people want to teach you, that somehow, the slaves were able to tuck in under their arms, copies of the Bible and the law, statutes and commandments and all that stuff. They didn't know anything about that. And we've gone through this extensively. We've gone over this extensively. You got the people out there, well, they all had, and I used to repeat the same stuff. Well, they all had Yah in their name and all that. We talked about that and dismantled that. And it has very little to do with that. Once you start digging into where that all comes from and all of that, no. And so there was a lot of research and stuff that we put together when we put it in a series called Who in the L Are You Following? And it was a series of videos that I did, and they were hosted over on our channel or video platform we used to have called My BondTube. Some of y'all remember that. And we had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos, not just videos we were uploading, but others like you were uploading videos on there as well. And so we don't have it anymore. It's gone. All right. But at that time, yep, that's where you could find all those videos. And there was a lot of content on there that I cannot put here on YouTube, because we really go in. I mean, I'm talking about, especially when you start, challenging a lot of the Jewish ideologies that are baked into, biblical, accounts. There's going to be some things in there that this platform is going to, interpret as being, hateful or whatever, but it's not being hateful. It's just telling the truth. I mean, there are channels I can point to you right now that they are very good at, when it comes to deconstruction and really breaking down the Bible and exposing the true historicity of it and all of that. But when it gets to the Jewish stuff, they run far away from it. They won't talk about it, but we were, and we do. And so that's why, unfortunately, I cannot put that on YouTube. So fast forward, BondTube goes down. I put it on, and then I start saying, you know what? Let me just do it piecemeal. I'm going to do a podcast. So I did the podcast. I was doing that for a while, but even that was taking a bit of effort, because, I always have a thousand things going on at the same time. So I couldn't do that. But what we did was we created a research group. And the purpose of the research group is basically to, these different topics as it pertains to really, for people. It's a place where we're encouraging individuals like you to do your own investigation when it comes to really measuring the Bible and holding it against actual factual, historical, documented history. And then as you're doing that, you're going to begin to see some things. If you're really an honest person, you're going to see some things that just are not going to add up. And like I've always said, there's nothing wrong with having faith, as we all should have faith here and there. Sometimes there's nothing wrong with that, because faith is a belief. You can believe that your children are going to be the greatest thing on the earth, but faith alone is a belief, and a belief does not translate to truth. It doesn't. It is not a truth. You can believe whatever you want. If you want to believe that you're a Hebrew, then believe it. That's you. But that doesn't make it into a truth. And nor does it give you a right to begin to bend historical facts to make them to put them in your favor. Because when you're bending the truth, I was taught that that's a lie. And so, so in this series, what I'm doing is rebooting the series, because when I did it before, I was really, I was picking main sections of the Bible, like the when the Israelites, when they were in Egypt. We also talked about when they were going to Mount Sinai. I talked about that. I also talked about some minor things as well. And then we touched on the New Testament. There were some things in there as well we talked about, but I didn't really go through the entire Bible. Well, this time around, we're going to do that. And this time around, what's so exciting is that we're going to be, in addition to just going through it, you're also going to have, because I structured it where it's going to be a half an hour study. There's going to be 2 of them uploaded every month, just 2 half an hour studies. And at the end of each study, there's a quiz. And, if you're doing it with your family, you could do it with your family. And it's full of references, real references that you can go to, from archaeologists to researchers, the whole nine. And you're going to be able to go through this yourself very easily. And then you can quiz yourself on it. And then the sources are also given as well. Okay. And so, the name of the series is Who in the L Are You Following? Right now, this is exclusively available for our people who are in the research group. All you got to do is go to the front of our YouTube page, and there's a join button if you want to do that. And, that just helps out with, maintaining this whole situation here. But eventually what I'll do is, once we get enough of them, I'm just going to package it all together, and then I'll make it available for everybody. Okay. But for now, it's exclusively for our research group so that they can go through it as well. In fact, what I did in addition is I did a, let me see if I can bring this up for y'all. This is real quick. This is I did a sample. Study for y'all, just so you can see what it looks like. And so this is it right here. Let me close out of that. Almost finished here. And like I said, again, we're going to turn those phones on and get y'all on here. So here's a complimentary lesson. This is free for everybody. So in this one, we're going to be, once you download it, you'll see for yourself what's in the name. When sacred texts borrow pagan labels, we talk about a book named after a pagan city. We're talking about where and I've talked about this before, where the word Bible actually comes from. The second one is, where does the word Jerusalem, where that actually comes from? And then we look closely at the claim of the Ethiopian Bible. You hear many times people saying the Ethiopian Bible is the oldest Bible. That is not necessarily true. And this actually explains that. Okay. It's not that we're not saying it's not an old Bible. But the claim is that it's the oldest Bible in the world. That it's not, it's very inaccurate. And we talk about that, and we go through it, and all the sources are there. And then we have a Q&A section at the end. Now, this is the complimentary one, but the regular one is a Q&A section where it's like a multiple choice. It's more like quizzes. All right. So you get that, and everyone, and they'll be uploading 2 of them a month. I think that will give people plenty of time to dissect it, to study and do whatever it is that you want to do with it. Okay, but that's what we're doing right now. So if you're interested and you want to take part in that, you can go ahead and join our research group, and you can, if you just want that access, and go ahead and get it, you'll get it. Okay. I might speed it up a little bit and maybe add a few more a month or whatever. But my goal really is for people to comprehend and absorb the information, and for people to take all the time they need to do their own research and to ask their own questions. The goal is for you to make your own conclusions, to make your own decisions, and but based on a wider scope of the facts. As much facts as we can get our hands on, we're scooping all that on the table. We're not just putting a little bit on there. We want to get as many as possible, as much as possible, so that you can make the best choices as far as you're constructing your own belief system. What you believe is what you believe, but it needs to be based on facts. Okay. And that's what we are about here on this platform. Okay. All right. So now what I'm going to do is, if you give me a moment, I will get my phone situation together here. And I want to hear from y'all. I want to hear from some of y'all talking about your mother. All right. You better talk about her right now. This is her day. Okay. Don't be saying nothing bad about mama today. Okay. Cause I'm going to tell. Okay. All right. So just take me a moment here. Let me put some music on in the meantime. And then as I'm getting set up here, let me put some, y'all get ready to call in. And let me see if I put this on here. There you go. All right, so give me a moment here. Let me get this up together.
Mama, you taught me how to love and to care. You showed me the way every step was hand in hand we share.
I'm getting it together here, getting it together. Let's see.
About this world we face. Would you want that true? With your lessons with grace. Thank you for eating kisses on the cheek. Thank you, Mama, for all you've done. Teaching me kindness. I'm for every son. There's time for love, and it's time to see. Thank you, Mama. Thank you, Mama.
Almost there, y'all.
Gave me the strength to always be kind. Your heart like gold in the moments of doubt I knew I'd find. Your love so
All right, that's the number there. That's the number on your screen, 480-382-9781. 480-382-9781. I think I got the wrong number on here. Hold on. I mean, no, that's right. It's okay. I'll work with that one. I just had it plugged into the wrong phone. That's all right. But we're good now. I'll just go with this phone now. But yeah, go ahead and call that number. I'm not going to beg y'all to say anything about your mother now. But you need to do it. So yeah, that's the phone number there. Yeah, I'd love to hear. And it's not just me. There are people out there that would love to hear. This is our opportunity now to put some positive vibes out there regarding our mothers that are out here on a system that social media system that is currently geared towards focusing on nothing but the negative, particularly as it pertains to our black women, especially our black women who are great mothers, or black women, period. Let's put some positive vibes out there, okay? Let's put some positive vibes out there. Let's emphasize the ones that are doing it right. Even if mama's not here anymore, we sure would love to hear some great stories, some good mama stories today. So, you know, you ain't got to tell me your name or nothing like that. Like I said, again, I ain't tracking your number or nothing like that. And you just go ahead and give us a call, and we would love to hear from you, okay? I'm just going to wait a little bit here, and hopefully somebody will call. Typically, I don't, you know, when I open the phone lines like this, it goes quiet. But today I'm kindly asking that if you would, if you would do that. I think that would make someone's day very special. So, all right, I got someone calling in now. And it sounds like someone I know. All right, is this someone I know? Who's this?
This is someone you know. Look, are you getting any feedback? Am I good?
No, you're perfect.
Okay. I'm going to tell this. I'm not, you know how I am a storyteller, so I'm not going to give a whole lot of detail, but it brought to mind when you said that about, when women, especially standing up and looking out for other women, for everybody too, but still, the memory I have with my mother, now we got to go way, way back to when I was in the 7th grade, and I had a neighbor who was being fostered by a distant relative couple. It was a couple that lived in our neighborhood, very big in their church. He was a deacon, but we knew that the wife had some alcohol problems, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So what they did, they took in, and you let me know if I'm
You're
going
fine.
all over the place.
You're fine.
Tell it. Okay. So what this couple, our neighbors, very outstanding. I mean, he worked at the same place my dad did. He was big in his church. But we knew his wife had some alcohol problems. But every Sunday, they were in church and everything. They didn't go to the same church we did. So what they did, they took in a distant relative's child who didn't have anyone else to take in. So, to everybody else, it looked like, oh, they're doing a good deed.
Mm.
But after a period of time, this young girl, we were about in the 7th grade, so I was about 13. She would walk to school with me and my cousin. And she would come out in the morning with bruises. She would have a knot on her head.
Mm.
She would be unkept. Her hair wouldn't be done. And she wouldn't say anything at first. But over time, she used to tell my cousin and I, she said, oh, they really beat me last night. Now, you got to realize this wasn't like it is now.
Right.
It was like back then, those kind of things you didn't talk about. You didn't talk about abuse and
Mm-hmm.
what was going on in people's houses. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It was just that way. Everybody kind of mind their own business. So as kids, we were like, oh, wow, that's a shame, But this kept going on. And every day I would come home and tell my mom. I would tell her, I said, well, so-and-so, she's deceased now. But she's saying that they're beating her and that she would tell us all kind of stuff. Like, they would make her eat the scraps from the table.
Mm.
Now, on the outside, it looked like this was I'm telling you, these were upstanding people. I mean, very well respected. But she would come out and she would have, like I said, one time she had a knot on her forehead. On her arms would be bruises.
Mm.
But see, back then, the thinking wasn't like, and now, I mean, we would jump right on something like that, but we were like, oh, she's telling us that. But I would always come and tell my mom, and my mom was like, you sure? She would say, so-and-so, they can't be doing that. And this went on for, I would say, a few months until one day when this girl, I was tempted to call her name. Her name was Angeline, but she's deceased now. She came out, she said, oh, they beat me bad.
Mm.
She said, and they just put for anything, and they're making me clean all the time. They were using her like, well, as kids, we were like, But that particular day, I never forget it. We would come home from school, and she said, I'm not going back in that house. I'm not going back in. And when we got up to my house, we were like 2 houses down from there. My mother was always home. I never came home from school, and my mother wasn't there. She had little side jobs and stuff she would do, but she always made sure that when we came home from school, she was there. You know what I mean? Wasn't no lock key or whatever you want to call that. She made sure we were there. I don't ever remember coming to a house where I was on my own like that. But I digress. And when we came to the house that day, Angelina passed by me and shot up my front porch into the house. And she knew my mother was there. And my cousin and I were like, well, what's going on? She said, because I'm not going back in the house. When I got my mother was in the kitchen, and she said she thought it was me coming in the house. And long story short, we couldn't find Angeline in the house. And I was looking around, and she was hiding in my mother's closet. She said, I'm not going back in that house. I'm not going back in that house. And it makes me nervous even now just talking about it, but it was so bad. But by this time, the man, our neighbor, had come home, and I don't know if he had seen her come in the house or what, but we were trying to talk to her to tell her, you got to come out and, we got to do something about this. And she said, no. She was crouched down in my mother's closet. And so the man came to the door and he said, he saw Angelina come in the house. And I'll never forget, my mother was a petite woman. She was short, and at that time she was just very petite. And this neighbor was a huge man. And I remember him saying, I saw her come in here. She's going to have to come out and go home. And I remember that day, my mother standing up to that man. She did. She said, no, she's not going anywhere. And his voice got louder because, see, I never heard my father raise his voice. We didn't have all that in our home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that it was perfect or anything, but we just didn't have big trauma like that where you yelling and screaming and all. So when he was shouting, we had a small house. And as he began to raise his voice to my mother, she would get in her voice. My mother was asthmatic too, so her voice was kind of weak, but she would stand up. She said, no, she's not going because she's saying that you beat me. And I'm a kid. I'm looking there from both, him to her. Oh, God, what's going to happen? My dad was at work. Angelina's hiding in the closet. And I'm thinking, oh, boy, what's going to happen? But she stood toe to toe with this big man. And she told him, you will not take this child out of this house.
Mm-hmm.
He stood up to him. And the way it worked out, she got so overwhelmed in taking that thing, she fainted. That's how she do it. She was so true. She just passed out. And that shook him. He was like, oh, my God. I never forget. He panicked. He panicked. Oh, my God. I didn't mean it. And she came through and everything. And Angelina, what happened eventually, from what I can remember now, is that we didn't have like child services like they have now, whatever. But the police kind of came, the sheriff, and she went into some kind of like foster care for a period of time. And eventually some of her relatives took her in and raised her. But my point in saying all that day when I saw her stand up for a child,
yes,
because a lot of people, when they hear stuff like that going on, they don't want to be involved. You see what I'm saying? They don't want to get involved. But she stood up. She didn't have anything. She didn't have the answer to the problem, but she knew that that child was not going to go back into that situation where they were abusing her. And what it ended up being, it wasn't him physically abusing her, but his wife, the alcoholic, was the one abusing that child. It was so much dysfunction in that home that we later found out that was going on. But my point is saying all that, my mother, like I said, grew up in a sharecropper's home. They were very poor. They didn't have anything. She probably saw a lot of dysfunction herself, but she cared about people.
Yes.
She cared. She wasn't that educated, but she cared so much. She used to take my cousins in that were very poor. And I remember as a little kid, she would give them a bath, and our bath tub, I used to get a little jealous because she was my hand-me-downs. I would see them. She would bathe them all up and do their hair. So they were very poor. And the mother was pregnant a lot. The father was alcoholic. And she would take those kids in. They still remember that, some of them now. And she would take them in and give them a bath, do their hair. And then my dresses, she would put my dresses and stuff on. I'd be like, well, dog, why they get all the good stuff was made, But she would do that kind of stuff. The lady that lived up the street, old lady that lived by herself, Mrs. Black, when my mother would make a good dinner, a really, really fancy dinner, she would, Ronnie, take this plate up to Miss Black and make sure you take her some dessert. Give her a slice of that cake to go with it too. She loves sweet. Stuff like that. Like I said, we didn't have a lot. And my mother wasn't educated when she wasn't ignorant, but she didn't go to high school and stuff like that. But she showed me and she taught me not only empathy, she wasn't perfect, but she taught me how to care. See, a lot of people now, they don't know how to care for people, how to love people, And so that's what when I think about her. And like I said, that was way back. But I remember the day when she stood up and stood up for that child, because that child came running. See, she knew where to run, Dwayne. She knew where to run
Right.
because my mother had showed she cared. And my mother did not disappoint. She stood up for her. I never forget that as a kid. And yeah, so that's what I wanted to share. I'm sorry for taking
Oh,
so
no,
much
no,
time.
no. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. Thank you.
But
I'm hearing the story. I never heard that one. Wow, that's something.
I know.
Well, thank you. Thank
I
you.
know.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right. Take care now. Wow. You know, today, that same story, that same situation, if that was today, you know what people would be doing? Sitting up there with their cell phones, filming the whole exchange. I'm not going to get involved in that, and a lot of us of a certain age, we see now that, it's kind of dangerous now to get involved because, situations like that, you may end up getting killed. You know what I'm saying? But the truth of the matter is that has not stopped the fact that you have a lot of children out here that are hurting. And they do need some type of intervention. They do need to have some empathy. You know what I mean? Some good old fashioned empathy. I ain't talking about this. Y'all just, like me, that kind of stuff. I ain't talking about that. I got someone from St. Thomas calling. Let's go ahead and get her on the phone. Get them on the phone. Hello. How you doing?
Hello?
You may have to turn your volume down because I hear myself.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly. How you doing?
I'm good.
All right.
I have two quick stories about my mom. She's not here anymore. But when I went to college, I hope I don't cry. When I went to college, when my mom bought a house in Florida, and I went to college to Florida because she was already there, and my sister was living there before my mom. She bought the house. My sister was living in the house. When she moved up and I moved up, my sister started to treat me really bad. Okay, but when I went there, my first year, what she basically did was I ended up in the hospital because I have asthma. I was seeing an allergist and everything, and all the medicine they were giving me was making me sick. And I ended up in the hospital. And it just so happened, when Florida started raining with its thundering and all of this stuff, my mother walked in the rain just to come and see me. She left work and she refused to go home. And my sister told her, don't go, she's like, I am not coming home and you're going to tell me you can't take her. Take me. So she ended up and walked. My mother came in the hospital drenched. And I was so taken aback because I saw how much she loved me.
Yes.
Another thing she did when I came back from, when I came back to go to school another semester, my sister refused to take me. And my mother was just so calm. She was like, get all your stuff together. My mother called a taxi, and my mother paid almost $100 just to take me back at the campus. She always put everyone before herself. And that's such a wonderful person. I had a wonderful mother. And that's the two things. I don't keep it too long, I don't have to call, but those are my two experiences. She was really selfless.
What was your mother's name?
She was selfless.
What was her name?
Sadie.
Who?
My mom's name was Sadie.
Oh, Sadie. Oh.
Yeah, and she also she was a person that rooted the family. As long as she was around, everyone came around. Everyone loved her. At her funeral, everyone came to her funeral because everyone loved her. All her nieces, her nephews, they call her Aunt Sadie. But even her grandkids call her Aunt Sadie. Everyone loved her. She was the binder of the family, and that was such a beautiful thing to see. And everyone stories and their experiences. I heard stories about my mom at her funeral that I never knew. All the selfless things that she did. So that was, she was a beautiful person inside and out.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for calling. Appreciate that. Bye-bye. Wow, that's another beautiful story. So we have that was my mom on that first call. My grandmother's name was Odell, so that's Miss Odell. Then we got Miss Sadie, and we give a big shout out to wherever they are now. We give it a big shout out to them, for being these great examples for us. And so Miss Odell, Miss Sadie, thank you. Anybody else? The phone line is open. I only got one phone line, so I ain't like a whole bank of people that are waiting to take your calls. I'm it. Okay, so if you call in and I don't answer, it's probably because I'm on the phone. Okay, so phone line is open right now. If you got a story, hey, husbands, even if you have a wife, maybe maybe you want to compliment or say something nice about your wife and how great of a mother she is. Go ahead and call us in and let us know. Hey, caller, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing, Dwayne?
Doing great. What's up? Tell me about it. Tell me about Mama.
Hey, this is Greg, man. How's it going?
Good.
So about Mama. Let's see here.
What's her name?
Two things. My mama. Say what now?
What was her name?
I'm sorry. Her name is Martha.
Martha. I'm just writing these names down. Go ahead. Go ahead now.
So two things my mama impacted upon me that I found that I'm still walking out even now. So when I grew up, I was a shy young man. I was a shy boy. Used to get on her nerves being so shy. Like she got so frustrated with me one time. She said somebody came to the house and she said, "Greg, don't just sit there and speak." And I'm like, "Hey, how y'all doing?" From that point forward, when I had the interaction with her, I talked to everybody. And the second thing that my mother impressed upon me was always save your money. Mm-hmm. That was her version of me managing my money.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So fast forward, that thing about always speak. Well, that in modern day terms, that's called networking. Yeah. When you're always working with folks. So I still do that. And as far as the saving the money, I'm still working on that, still managing the money. Yeah. So my mom has been that influence. Those two key points are still impacting me today. I don't have much to say because my mother, everything that I do remember about my mom, she kept me safe. She kept me comfortable without me realizing it. I didn't know, and I didn't realize how small my house was because it looked like it was massive when I was living with my mom. But when I went back to look at it, I'm like, dang, I grew up in a small house.
Yeah.
But that's my point for my mom. She impacted me now, and I'm still representing. I'm still speaking. I'm still managing my money.
That's wonderful, man. Thank you for calling in. Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Not a problem. Thanks, man.
Take care now. So we got Miss Odell, Miss Sadie, and Miss Martha all being represented here. Who else gonna represent their mama today? Who gonna represent their mama? Let us know. Give us a good story about mama, okay? Got another phone call in the house. Who's this? Tell me about mama.
What's going on, man? How you doing?
All right, good, brother.
Good. I just want to give my 2 cents in. First, give my hellos to your family and for my missus before I get in trouble again. Yeah, man, I want to give a shout out to my mom, Patsy.
You said Ashley?
So, Patsy, Patsy.
All right. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, man. One thing that stood out with me was years ago, I think I was about in the 10th grade, I believe. Yeah, about 10th grade. And as you know, I'm a drummer. So this was before I actually got, purchased my own set. She was the first one to really purchase my set. And she was influenced by my little sister, because my little sister saw an ad in the paper. And she was like, "Mom, we should get this for Clay, because, since he playing drums and everything." And so she wasn't sure because, she was, constantly strapped for cash for taking care of us and stuff. But at this time, I wasn't at home. I was staying with her mother, my grandmother. Mm-hmm. And my baby sister influenced her and everything. And so she said, okay. So she went to go check out the ad. She went to the address that was in the paper, and I guess talked with the guy, and so they came to an agreement. So now I don't know none of this. So here's the thing: this is really tripped out. So I'm at my grandmother's with my uncle and my cousins. We all pretty much the same age, in the same age range. So we all just chilling, listening to music, watching TV, whatever. So my mother comes by, my granny's house, and she comes through the door, and she says, she calls her and I was like, "Hey, Ma, how you doing?" She's like, "Hey." So all of a sudden, my little sister, she's smiling. I'm like, "What's going on? How you doing?" She's like, "Fine." So she just was smiling. All of a sudden, here comes the drum set through the door. Well, man, let me tell you. So, man, look, when I saw that drum set come through that door, I lost it. I lost it. I was like, "You got that drum set, Mama? Why you got that drum set? You got that drum set?" I mean, I was all over the place. My cousin there, my uncle coming around, they're like, "Oh, wow." And so I just started shedding tears, man. And she said, "Yeah, this okay. You got to stop crying before you start making me cry." So, yeah, man, that was a really big thing that she did for me.
Wow.
And she sacrificed so much for us as her children and everything. Losing our brother in '85, at 10, it was really hit her hard. For any mother or parent who have experienced losing a child, you know how a toll it could take on them.
Yeah.
And so this was all after that. So after all of that, with her still trying to, navigate through that loss and everything, and dealing with, the three of us. So it was just like, we're all over the place. Like I said, I was staying with my grandmother at the time because I just wanted to be like my cousins and my uncle, graduate from the same high school. I mean, it was just one of them things. But anyway, she was a great influence on all of us, because she was a singer. She sang professionally in the choir. She sang with a professional community choir in Detroit. And then, from there, I guess that's where I got my musical gift and everything. And so, yeah, man, I had to give her flowers for that because, right now we talk every now and again. I bring that up and we just laugh about it, So that was the one thing that stood out because, man, when I saw that drum set, it was a wrap. So I just wanted to just give my flowers to her about that.
Yes.
So, yeah.
That's wonderful, man. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate that, brother.
No problem.
All right,
No problem. Y'all take care.
All right, you too. I tell you, mothers do. Real mothers, they do. They sacrifice, and it just comes with the territory, and they just don't think nothing of it. They literally don't think nothing of it. When you think of, and someone said, "Well, dog, why you got to go here?" But I like learning from nature. I mean, when you look at animals, the mama bear and, the mama, the different mama animals, when they, you mess with their children, man, it's like, it's a wrap. It's a whole wrap. All right, got another call here. Hey, how you doing? Tell us about mama.
Hey, Dwayne, how you doing, sir?
All right. Hey there.
This is Christina.
Uh-huh. I know who this is.
So,
tell us mama's name first.
Georgia.
Georgia. Okay. Yes, Georgia.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes. Georgia, but from St. Louis, from the Show Me State.
By way of Utah. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I have a running family joke about my mom, and our daughters constantly remind me about that point. So I'll share this. Many years ago, when I was in elementary school, there was a little joker that decided he wanted to shake me for my lunch money. And it wasn't just me. This was one of the older kids in the elementary school. And my lunch at that time was at the end of the day. And so whenever I would get home, I'd always say, Mama, I'm hungry. She said, what you hungry for? You already ate.
Right.
Well, I could never really tell her, that the little dude shook me for my lunch money and I didn't eat. She got tired of that. I kept saying, I'm so hungry. So can I have a snack? No, you already ate. I didn't eat. So I finally told her what happened. She looked at me, and I'm expecting empathy, right? She said, if you don't fight him, you gonna fight me.
Well.
So that put fear in me. And, the next day, I had to find the courage to get a stick. And there was a walkway to the school, and he was always standing there waiting for me to shake me for my lunch money. I got that stick. I blacked out, and I bopped him in the head, I guess. I don't know where I hit it. But one thing I know,
your lunch was good that day.
Well, it was good that day and for the rest of the season. I'm saying all that to say, in that moment, I didn't like it. I was looking for empathy. Mama, come on, come down there and help a sister out. Come do something. Why don't you come hit him with the stick? Do something.
Yes.
But what she was teaching me in her own way was, and she always used to say, because she was from St. Louis, I can show you better than I can tell you. And so in her own way, this was instilling in me to speak up for myself, because like my husband who called previously, I too was a shy girl, outspoken, but a little shy. And that day, I don't know what it was about that stick, but that courage, that courage has been lasting for quite some time. My mother was a loving, giving. She's no longer with us. She passed in 2014. She was just a loving and giving and honorable woman, even with all of the challenges that she faced. She was always giving of herself, sometimes to the detriment of herself, which I didn't like as I was getting older. And so I would always protect my mom. For example, I would say, if I would see, we would be out shopping, and people would come up to say, hey, girl, how you doing? What's good? Hey, how you doing? What's happening? They wouldn't speak to my mom. So I'd have to put them in check. There's no way that you could be able to speak to me unless you speak to her.
That's right.
You need to speak to my mother first. At least acknowledge her. Because she's standing right there. You can see her, right?
That's right.
So my mother was, she had this beautiful voice. She was, we was in the church, and I was actually born on a Sunday. She didn't make it to church because it was time for me to make my debut. But she brought us up. We all had to sing. We had no choice because she sang. And because of her leading, and unfortunately, sadly, my parents had divorced, but my father was involved. But because of her leading and her guiding, I am absolutely the woman that I am today. I've stumbled. And like you had said earlier, there's some things that you may have rolled your eyes at that your parents had said because they didn't stick then. But a little time, a little life experience, stuff sticks. And those things that I used to roll my eyes at, now they make sense.
Yes.
And it's all because of that Georgia. All because of that Georgia. So I just wanted to share that a little bit. There's far more stories than that. I'm sure a lot of other people have, but that's what I wanted to share about my mama.
Yes. Well, I sure do appreciate that. And you said that's Miss Georgia, so I got her written down too. I just like remembering these things, and especially putting
Yes.
names and all of that, because this is a kind of a memorial service, but a good one, you know. And we ain't all
Absolutely.
we ain't all wearing black today, you know. It's wonderful, you know. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much for calling, both you and your husband. Really appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Take care now. Ain't that wonderful? You know, so many stories, so many wonderful stories of our mother. I mean, our mothers and how much they sacrifice. That's going to be a recurring theme that you're going to hear a lot of. And isn't it something, we live in a world today where you hear younger women now saying that they don't want to do it. They're running away from this opportunity to raise up young ladies, young men, and all of that. It's not, because it's not it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. It's not an easy job. You know what I mean? But we want to give honor to those who did stand up, who are doing it, because if it weren't for them, we wouldn't be around. So, you know, so there you go. So, hey, we got another one. Tell us about Mama.
Wayne, what's going on? This is Gerard.
Hey, Gerard, how you doing, brother?
I'm good. I'm finally not on the road. I'm here in Virginia.
How was the what was it, class reunion?
Oh, class reunion is good. I have to send you pictures.
So let me guess, you was out of everybody, you was the most fit there, and they were like, "Dang, I don't know what you doing, but bruh, you hitting the gym and all of that." I know they, you know, so I know you got all those stories. Maybe you share that another time. I'm afraid to go to mine because I know I'm probably anyway. Tell us about Mama.
Okay, Mama's name is Ann. That's her name.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so I can remember my dad. He was a barber, so every Saturday he would go to work. I can remember getting up butt cracking early in the morning, about like 5 or 6, to go to the beauty salon. So I'm going to the beauty salon, and I'm sitting there with mom, and mom would sit up there for about 6-7 hours, man. And I hated it, but after I look back at it, it taught me patience to be there. That's one story. Right. Yeah, it just taught me patience.
Woo! I know that did.
And then mom passed in 96. She got a chance to see me graduate in 95. So that's what was important for me to go to the class reunion also.
Yeah.
But let me tell you the story of how that happened and transpired. So my mom was a substitute teacher, and for what would happen is she would be home, but you know, she retired and she'd come back, and so she'd just sit there. And you know, when we were young, you know, dad was doing work and everything, dad worked late too. But you know, after a while, we're like, you know, mama was just tired, but she wasn't. She was sick. So she was sick for like, I would say for like 6-7 months. And then she went in the hospital and she never came back out. But my mom never complained, not once during that time. So that showed me, besides the patience I got, she showed me how strong she was. And what happened was, my mama did everything in the house, so it was upon me to do it. Dad was a little older, so I took care of everything. That's when I learned about insurance. That's when I learned about taking care of the house. The house was at 12% interest at the time. I had to refinance the house and get everything together. And during the funeral, I didn't cry because I saw everybody else crying. You know, I'm what, 18, 19 years old, and I'm like, I'm gonna be strong for everybody. Yeah. Do you know it took me 10 years for me to grieve for my mom for that? But I saw how strong it was, and those are 2 life lessons out of death and sacrifice that I got from my mom, and I live that today.
That's wonderful, man. Thank you so much for sharing that, man. I tell you, you'll never forget it, won't you?
No, I won't forget it. I won't forget it, man.
Well, thank you again, brother, for calling. I really appreciate you taking the time to call in, because I know it's going to help somebody. Like I said, I got Ann written down here. I'm going to do a special post for all these mamas here, and I appreciate it. All right?
Okay.
All right. Take care. Thanks again. All right. Bye. I'll tell you, you know, it reminded me of, you talking about teaches patience. I remember, you know, I grew up, part of my childhood was in Philadelphia. And, you know, of course, anytime my mom, she wanted to go shopping in the department stores, guess who was with her? It was me. And so, you know, of course, she's shopping for clothes for her, you know, And, you know, I wanted to go to Kitty City. I wanted to go to the toy store. So she was like, listen, you hold yourself together. You go, I'll take you to the toy store. But right now, I'm looking for clothes for me. So I had to find some way to entertain myself. So I used to hide in the racks. I don't know how many of y'all used to do that. I'm in Philadelphia now. Philadelphia, not Philadelphia, Mississippi, Philadelphia, Center City. And I'm hiding in the racks. And my mom be like, Dwayne, where are you? She calling for me. And finally, she had to go up to the front and say, can you put a call APB out for Dwayne? She would call me out and then be like, can Dwayne please come to the, front or whatever. And I come out like the, I'm like, okay, I'm here. Put your hands on your head and come on straight forward. Walk backwards, And so, oh, that was so embarrassing. But I remember I endured for a little while. When we would go to Gimbals, we would go to John Wanamaker's and these stores here, and she would say, okay, it's time to go to Kitty City. And I remember this one time, I think my grandmother, she sent me a $5 bill. Back then that was big money back then, and I was going to use it to buy whatever. And I put it in my little bell-bottom pocket, and I said, okay, we gonna go, I'm walking, and I had the nerve to put it in my pocket. Well, guess what? It never made it to Kitty City. So we went to Kitty City. She said, okay, my mom was like, okay, where's your $5? I'm reaching in my pocket, and it was just like, Lord, somebody got it. To this day, I still think about that $5. I'm going to shake down everybody in Philadelphia over that $5 to prove to them I'm responsible. And this reminded me of another story my mom told me. I was a child. I was a baby, like maybe like a toddler. And she said, I think we were sitting out waiting for the bus. And she said it was an old man. Now, this one is nasty now. It was an old man. He had like a Coke bottle. And he went and spat in it, right? Why you gonna do that? And set the bottle on the ground. And here come my little beautiful brown hands. I went over to the bottle. I was like this. And she said you could just see the yang or whatever come on down. And my mom said she don't know how she got there, but she made it over there and snatched that thing out of my hand so quick. Can you imagine? I keep replaying that in my mind. I'm like, Lord, what in the world was I thinking? What in the world was I thinking? She said she blacked out, like Christine, she said she blacked out. I think as parents, we all had that moment where we just completely black out. And next thing you know, you just like Christine, she said she blacked out. She picked up that stick. Next thing she knows, whoa, how did I get in the cafeteria? But yeah, it's just little stories like that too. That just, you sit back and makes you laugh, but at the time it wasn't funny, but yeah, yes, that's one lesson that I learned is patience. So, but as a husband and as a father now, when I go to the store with my children and or with my daughter, she like going in, seeing all the girl stuff and all of that. And now my daughter now, she's another level for me because she wants me to stay engaged. Nicole, she'll allow me to go sit down somewhere and be on my phone while she's going through the store or whatever. But my daughter, nope. Dad, come over here. What do you think about this? And then I have to go. I'm going through the whole store, and I got to walk with her, and go through, engage. And what do you think about this? What does this look like on me and all of that? She keeps me engaged. And you know what? At first, I'm like, but after a while, I'm into it. I'm like, okay, good. But yeah, keep, and just, they're going to teach you that. But those are all these are wonderful memories. All of these are wonderful memories. And I sure do appreciate, I certainly appreciate each and every one of y'all calling in and sharing these wonderful stories about your mother. And for those who didn't call in, that's okay. And if you, just all I would ask is, let them know how much you appreciate them and love them and all of that. And like I said, in a world where there's so much focus on particularly black women and what they're not doing and they're not this and that or whatever, let's also take the time to acknowledge the ones that were doing it right, the ones that did lay a solid foundation for us and all of that. That's just so, so very important. And we're going to do the same thing when it comes down to Father's Day. We're going to do the same thing. We want to honor our fathers too. This is just some basic things that, it needs to be a regular part of what we do, honoring these people here. I'm going to turn this off here. There's just a couple of things, quick things I'm going to touch on here, and we just going to call it the day so y'all can get on back and do your Mother's Day nap time or go to bed or whatever. And, okay, phone's off now. So yeah, so I will, so look for that post in the next 24 hours or so. I'll get that up there. But anyway, but yeah, so again, thank y'all for calling, and big shout out to all of our wonderful mothers out there. For you young women out there, listen, yes, motherhood is something to aspire to. It's not something to run away from. Of course, you want to make sure you get the right husband and all of that. Don't rush into that, but I tell you, it is certainly a blessing. It is. There's a lot of people out here that want to shoo you away from it, but no, it's a blessing because, see, we need you. We need mothers. We need good mothers. We need good mothers because good mothers help to build a good society. The very people that you're complaining about, chances are they probably didn't have that. You know what I mean? So you are the answer. It's not the government. It's not anything. It's not AI. You are the answer. You are the solution, and be the best solution that you can offer. And as a woman, you have plenty of great shoulders that you can stand on, and you can continue to build those positive legacies. So really appreciate those. Appreciate the women that called in. Also appreciate the men that called in too. Let's continue. Let's keep it going. And that's it. Okay. So again, I can't say enough of that. So yeah, so look for that post in the next 24 hours. Just a couple of quick things that I noticed. And like I said, I'm just going to keep it light today. Y'all, I don't know if every now and then I'll be peeking in on what they be doing over there, what they be doing. Yeah. Over the Hebrew world there. Oh, Ron Dalton is picking fights now. Now he's going to war with IUIC. I don't know if y'all caught that. I'm not going to even put it on the screen. You can look it up yourself. But now they're going at it now. This is the same IUIC that when everything was when the whole media was going after Ron because of the basketball player posted the link to his books or whatever. Then the whole media world converged and wanted to condemn all Hebrew Israelites. IUIC didn't waste any time to take advantage of that situation by organizing a whole march, in Brooklyn to try to say that, hey, yep, this is the rise of the Hebrews and Ron Dalton is the key and all of this other stuff. And then you had all these other Hebrews as well jumped all on Ron's wagon. But man, oh man, 2025, it's all unflipped now. They are going in on him. And I'm only mentioning this and highlighting this because, there's a much deeper issue and issues that, and this is what we're going to be talking about in the days ahead. This deep-seated hatred that you see in this thing we call the so-called black community. You can get in any religion you want to. It's still not going to erase that fact that there is deep-seated hatred there. There's a deep-seated hatred amongst members of this community. It's just, I'm talking about black folks in general. It is. And this is why we really encourage people to get the help you need. If you need counseling, you need to get it. There needs to be healing that takes place. Religion is not going to bring that healing. Let me say that again. Religion is not going to bring that healing. You guys heard from my mom earlier today. You also heard from her some time ago. She gave her own testimony about how she had to go into that, healing. It was a wonderful experience. There was some things she had to confront and deal with and all of that. But I'm going to tell you something. When I tell you, as her son, I'll say this, man, I could see the change. I could see the difference. I can really, really see, and I can hear. It ain't the same person. It really isn't. And guess what? She ain't had to take no drugs. She ain't had to do any of that. Stuff that would really used to bother her because she's an extremely empathetic person. She learned how to bring that balance. And she doesn't feel the pressure of having to be the one that be the garbage can, basically taking everybody else's problems. She's now learned to move beyond that and say, no, enough is enough. Now there's certain ones that don't want to understand that, but hey, it's okay. And we encourage one another and to keep going. Mothers, especially mothers, but this is applicable to anybody. You deserve that. You really, really do deserve that. You really deserve to take some time. And if you feel like you need to get some help or whatever, do it. It's okay. It's okay for you to get the healing that you need, because yes, we do acknowledge that y'all take on a lot. You do. You good mothers out there, you fathers too, same thing. But what in religion, you'll find that a lot of people believe that their religion will protect them from that, but it doesn't. And so like when I just mentioned this Ron IUIC thing, it's not just them. I mean, these folks be fighting all the time. And then they're the same ones are going to say, after they done fought, then they say, well, come to Canaan land. You think I want to go to your Canaan land and y'all fighting? If y'all fight now, what y'all going to be doing over there? Why would I want to go to your Canaan land and y'all be cussing each other out, be ready just to rip each other head off? But come to heaven. I don't want to come to your heaven. I don't want to come to your heaven. Y'all fighting now. What y'all going to be doing up there? What you going to be doing over there? Nah, y'all, no. No. I'm going to give you the Winans answer. No. I'm not doing it. Y'all can have that. Get the healing that you need. And because it is well worth it. Give honor to the beautiful women out there, the mothers out there that are really holding it down and have been doing it right. If your mother done passed, still take some time, remember the good things that she has done and has contributed to you, and remind the children too, because a lot of times these stories, the children never heard these stories. So it's a good thing. All right. So that's all I think I have. I had a couple other things, silly, dumb things. But like I said, I just wanted to keep it on the up and up today. So that's all I have. Thank you so much for everyone that shared. Really do appreciate it. And we will be talking again soon. All right. You take care. Let's leave off on Where's My Mama track. Let me see where's my Mama music. All right. Let's go to Mama music. Okay. Let's go to Mama music as we head out. And there we go. Let's go back. There we go. I'm going to leave off on some Mama music. Thank you so much, y'all. You take care.
Yes, indeed. You held my hand.
And I'll see you next time.
Walked me to school every morning. You taught me